Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Oh yeah. I forgot I have a built-in microphone in my throat too. So that's a double mic. But anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you guys for your patience. Devil Mans. And all supporters, please come stand behind us. All supporters, please come stand behind us. Media, stand in front of us. Thank you. Attorney Mans, come stand behind us. Reese Walker. Let me go ahead and pull up your statement. So first off, let me introduce myself. Jock, lower the volume just a tiny bit, please. Just a tiny bit, just for now. You can monitor the speaker for me, please. So I am Naazir and Qaadir's uncle. I'm Tiger. So Uncle Tiger. We have here their dad. Okay. So Tiger, like the animal, Tiger. Uncle Tiger. That's what I go by. We have Dad right here, Tyrese Lewis.
Hello, how are you doing?
So Tyrese, as you can see, has had a lot of stress. He had a stroke, and then soon after the funeral, he's been in and out of the hospital. So we want to definitely thank the NAACP for standing behind us and standing with us. And let me let you guys know, because I heard it a lot. I heard it a whole lot. It was not the NAACP's fault as to why we are now sitting with them in front of you guys and talking to you guys, but out of caring for people as they do, they took the family's situation into consideration with everything. So they wanted to wait until Tyrese was well enough and out of the hospital to come and speak and introduce himself to you guys. This right here was a custodial parent, so his boys lived with him, and great father right here, raised his sons.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I want to say thank you. I can't say no more.
Okay. So I'm gonna read a statement from Tyrese and from what we call the bonus mother, also known as, a lot of people don't understand, when I say BM or bonus mom, but the stepmom, Tyrese's wife. That's who the boys lived with. Let me read this to you. From the moment the GBI informed us of Naazir and Qaadir's deaths, we have been really shocked and heartbreaking devastation. The void they have left in our lives is beyond imagining. Naazir and Qaadir were, among many things, intelligent, loving, funny, kind, respectful, ambitious, independent, and resilient young men. They were driven, and worked very hard towards their goals. Most importantly, they had the love and support of their families, relatives, and friends who cherished them. They even did things with the NAACP youth. Since the investigation began, we have sought to understand what happened that night, almost 3 months in, and the answers we have do not make sense at all to us. As the investigation closes, we still do not have all of the answers. We want answers. We want to ask those who care to stand with us in seeking justice for Naazir and Qaadir. Lastly, we want to express our heartfelt gratitude for the overwhelming support and encouragement shown to us during this difficult time. Respectfully, the Lewis family. And then I, as the uncle, have a statement as well. On March 7th, 2025, Naazir and Qaadir, the Lewis twins, were taken from us in an act of brutal violence. Naazir was planning on leaving his home early the next morning to catch a standby flight to Boston, since he missed his confirmed flight that morning due to long TSA lines. After eating dinner and cleaning up the kitchen, their usual Friday routine, they left their subdivision at 10:17 p.m., making a quick trip to the gas station, then vanished. What happened after they left the gas station? Show us more videos. Since when does a 19-year-old who just spent money on a plane ticket to see his long-distance girlfriend all of a sudden choose to off himself instead of having fun with his girlfriend? Did they have a key to the lock gate at this unheard of mountain to non-hikers? Did they call authorities or emergency services members to unlock the gate for them? Who unlocked the gate? They were bad drivers. One of them asked to drive my car. I replied, never. I would take pictures of how they parked on the street just to tease them, especially Qaadir. Those teenage boys would have driven off of a cliff if they had to drive on a curvy, windy, narrow road up a mountain in pure darkness. Their lifeless bodies were positioned in a way that screamed sacrifice. Scott Curlin and others took so much pleasure in the systemic white supremacist tradition, they shared Scott's murder scene photos with their children in order to desensitize them and encourage those terroristic behaviors. I purposely did not say crime scene photos because I didn't see any crime tape markers or any indication that would suggest it was a crime scene. I didn't even see a gun in those pictures. For months, officials have ignored our cries, but today we stand before you to say enough. We demand a full investigation and an independent one. The release of all evidence and arrest for those responsible. Qaadir and Naazir were loved. They were stolen from us. But their legacy is ours to define. Every time we speak their names, we defy the silence that lynching demanded. The fight is sacred. Stand with us. This is not just our fight. It is a test of whether Black lives truly matter in this country. We will not rest until justice is served. Thank you. So, introduce yourself. This is the president of the NAACP, Gwinnett.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I want to thank the media for covering this very important story. I also want to thank the members of the NAACP Gwinnett County branch, our state president, and other NAACP members that may be here that's a part of other branches here that we have here in Georgia. First and foremost, we want to extend our deepest condolences to the Lewis family, to the father, to the both mothers, to the aunts, to the uncles, aunties, cousins, and friends who are in mourning for this unimaginable loss. Words cannot fully express the pain and heartbreak felt by everyone who knew and loved these young men. Now let us be clear. There could be no real justice in this case. These young men cannot be brought back, and no legal outcome will ever restore their lives. However, what we can and must pursue is the truth and accountability. We must understand exactly what happened to them and how they ended up in a place that had no known reason to be there. At this time, the NAACP Gwinnett County branch is demanding a full and immediate release of all evidence held by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. The GBI cannot speak out of both sides of its mouth. It can't publicly say the case is closed, but privately say that they will not release all of the evidence to the family because they're still investigating the case. This lack of transparency is unacceptable. We're also calling for an independent investigation. The GBI and Towns County law enforcement have demonstrated time and time again that they cannot be trusted when handling cases of mysterious death of young black men. Our organization is committed to truth, transparency, accountability, especially when it comes to how law enforcement investigates deaths of black people. We will not rest. We will not be silent. We will continue to fight for these young men and their families until the full truth is brought to the light. Thank you.
This right here is no stranger to any of us or to any of you. This right here is attorney and president of the state conference of the NAACP, Attorney Gerald Griggs.
So first and foremost, my condolences to the family of Mr. Lewis, both the twins, and on behalf of the Georgia State Conference and the National NAACP, we are standing with you in solidarity and demanding justice and accountability. We've been here before, many times in many different counties all throughout Georgia when there's a mysterious death. I can remember getting a phone call from a concerned NAACP president down in Glenn County when there was an unfortunate killing. I can remember law enforcement investigating that killing initially and coming up with an excuse. So we stand here for the twins demanding the same thing we demanded for Ahmaud Arbery and others. A thorough, complete, and full independent investigation. Because we find it very hard to believe that individuals that resided in Gwinnett County would somehow end up in Towns County on a mountain they knew nothing about and commit suicide. We've been here way too many times. So in the 116 years that the NAACP has responded to lynchings, we know what a lynching looks like, we know what it smells like, we know what a cover-up starts out like. And so we stand shoulder to shoulder with the Gwinnett County NAACP and all the 100 branches of this association in Georgia in demanding that the GBI release all of the evidence. Now let's be clear, I know the director knows the open records laws just like I do. If the investigation is closed, then he has to release the file. So we are demanding that he release the file. We are also demanding that an independent investigation occur in this case to uncover and turn over every stone to determine what happened to the twins. Because I find it very hard to believe, as a 21-year practicing attorney, that these individuals drove to a mountain they did not know, up a windy, dark road behind a gate that was locked, and killed themselves. That's very difficult to believe. We know that we are in 2025, which means that every gas station, every Georgia Department of Transportation camera, the flock cameras, they capture everything. So we should have a timeline from the point they left Gwinnett County to the point they ended up on the mountain to delineate what actually happened. That's what we're calling for. If it truly was a suicide, be transparent. Release all the information. Let independent investigators determine what happened. But if it's a cover-up, keep covering up, because the eyes of the world are on this case. And so not only are we calling for an independent investigation, we are calling for elected officials to do more. We are calling for Georgia to be transparent and to give answers to the Lewis family. So first and foremost, we're calling on the GBI director to have a direct conversation with this family and walk through all of the evidence. Secondly, we're calling on the governor to empower independent investigators to look into this case, the same way you did in the Ahmaud Arbery case. Because it's important that not only does Black life matter, but every single incident of a mysterious death in this state should be thoroughly investigated. And if it turns out that somebody has done something afoul of the law, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. So we're calling on the governor to impanel a special investigatory panel to determine what happened in this case. And lastly, we are tired of families having to come to civil rights organizations to force law enforcement to do their job.
That's right.
This is the job of law enforcement. And so we want to make sure that law enforcement knows that in every case, we are watching you. We will hold you accountable. You need to be transparent and accountable to the citizens that pay taxes and the families that entrust their loved ones, 19-year-olds, to your care, concern, and protection. And so on behalf of the Georgia State Conference of the NAACP and on behalf of the National Board, we have eyes on this case because we are done dying. We are done with the excuses. We are done with you sweeping things under the rug like we aren't watching. So again, the ball's in your court now. We hope to hear directly from the GBI director about a meeting to go over the evidence, the complete file with this family. If you truly say that the case is closed, then you will be getting an open records request. You have 3 days to respond. Otherwise, we'll be in this courthouse or others. To the governor, it's time for an independent panel to investigate this case. And to law enforcement, it's time to be transparent. Investigate these cases like it's your loved one. And be clear and transparent with the truth. And let the chips fall where they may. So on behalf of the Georgia State Conference, we stand shoulder to shoulder with the family. We stand shoulder to shoulder with the Gwinnett NAACP. And again, the ball's in the GBI's court. Release the file and allow an independent investigation.
Awesome.
Very good.
So now we have again another man that needs no introduction. State Representative Qaadir. This is his district. My nephews were part of his district. He has come to the house. He has, spoken to the family, and stood with us. So thank you. Come on, Andy.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiger. And let me just introduce myself. My name is Qaadir. I represent the 102nd District in the House. And these two young men should be alive today. They should be alive. Like Tiger said, I've been to the house. I've heard their story. And I've seen the parents. Folks, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and looks like a duck, it has to be what? It has to be a duck. This investigation surely looks like a cover-up. Yes, I'm not talking down on law enforcement. They do a great job, and they're human beings. Sometimes some cases may not be easy to crack. But put yourselves in the shoes of this family. When I visited them, I knew they were a very strong family. But I also knew that they have been broken. Who wouldn't? To lose a child breaks you. How much more too? Think about it. And then, on top of it, you are not able to find out exactly what happened to them. Come on. If you want to commit suicide, why do you have to travel 3 hours away from your house? What stops you? You have your bedrooms, you have your backyard. It just makes no sense. And hey, if you're going to cover something up, make it believable. These ain't. And I ask, hold the hands of these parents during your investigation so that they will know what you have done and believe your outcome. Because, like I said before, it is so difficult, so hard to lose a child. How much more to, and also to endure a cover-up. Thank you so much.
So we have Sister Betty Maddox Muhammad. She has been, when I tell you, her story is amazing. Her story, you know, is heartbreaking. But her fight, I've never seen anything like this, except for Muhammad Ali, maybe. But we thank you. We appreciate you for standing with us from the beginning, for making sure that everyone else stood with us. She has introduced us to so many supporters who have vowed their support, you know, just having our back, and we appreciate you. So please, from Grave, Sister Betty Maddox Muhammad.
First of all, let me say good afternoon, and to my sisters and my brothers who are here represented here from the Nation of Islam. I greet you with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum,
Wa alaikum salam.
which simply means peace be unto you. My name is Betty Maddox Battle Muhammad. I am the founder and the executive director of a homicide support group, GRIEVE, acronym, Grieving Relatives in Every Violent Event. My son was murdered 32 years ago last week. I stand in solidarity, demanding on behalf of all the grieving mothers all over this country that the GBI release the information on Qaadir and Naazir's investigation. Let me say this for the people in the back. It doesn't hurt home until it hits home. I know what it is to investigate cases like this. I am retired out of law enforcement over 30 years. I've experienced both aspects of violence. So I know firsthand the victim and the judicial aspect. But I stand firmly. If you think this is over, I'm tired of saying it. Enough is enough. We will not take any less than a thorough, swift, and transparent investigation. This father here grieves, and so does the mother and the family members. I ask you all to stand with us as grieving mothers to demand that the governor of this state do what needs to be done, because if we do not, it's going to happen again. From the bottom of my heart, on all the grieving families here all over the world, I greet you with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum, and I pray that God will intervene and bring us justice. Last but certainly not least, there can be no peace without justice. And there can be no justice without truth. And there can be no truth unless someone stands up and tells us the truth. Thank you so much for your presence, and we look forward to the collaboration. On behalf of grieving relatives, we express our condolences to the family. God bless you all.
So now we're going to open up this moment here for questions.
Hey, Sal with 11 Alive. First off, I want to say I'm so sorry to the Lewis family and friends. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. My question for you, because it's going to make viewers ask questions. You made a point to say the way their bodies were found made it seem different.
Yes.
Take me through what you know that's calling you to say this is not a case of suicide, but something more.
That's a great question. So Chase, for those that didn't understand or didn't hear what he asked to explain why, in my statement, I said that the way their bodies were laid screamed sacrifice. So I'll paint a picture for you guys, because so people have been sending me everything that they've seen since day one. Since I've been sharing the story with everyone, all of the tastemakers, all of the people that can do something that can spread the news and spread it fast, so we can raise the money to even have unexpected funeral for two. So in the video that I saw on a podcast, someone posted the pictures. Thanks to Scott Curlin. Let's not forget that name, Scott Curlin, who only received a misdemeanor for obstruction, but was never arrested. So hold on. Do you mind about speaking about this also? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I've never shared this with Tyrese because of the sensitivity. But I'm going to share it now because it's important. And he just said it's okay to do so. So you guys know, on Easter Sunday, everybody uses pretty much the same logo, right? You have the 3 crosses on the mountain when Jesus and the murderer and the robber were, also being punished. So there was missing 1 cross, basically. There was 2 crosses. So their bodies were like this. Positioned with their feet almost touching, but spread out to where their heads were fanned out. Their arms were out. Their heads were facing upward. The GBI, let me tell you why they ruled that it wasn't murder-suicide. And they said because there were identical headshot wounds to the head. Headshot wounds, gunshot wounds to the head. So when you look at, when you see this, how their bodies are positioned, you know that it was execution and staged. Did that answer your question, Chase?
Yes, sir.
Andrew Stork, Trade Finance Solutions. The operative theme that we're hearing is integrity. In addition to the measures that you outlined, what else would you like to see put in place to maintain the integrity of the investigation?
So at this point, my understanding is the investigation is closed. And so if the investigation is closed, they just need to release the evidence so that independent investigators can go through it and determine if there's any follow-up that needs to occur to determine what actually they believe the cause of death was, and then make an independent determination, and then, of course, turn it over to, other law enforcement sources. So there's nothing left to maintain the integrity of the investigation that's closed.
Attorney Briggs, if I may, while you have the mic, what legally can be done for the police department or GBI to release all that evidence? In your professional opinion, what can be done?
Open records requests can be given to law enforcement if they have deemed the investigation closed. Georgia law says they have to release it. So if they truly have closed the case, which the family has indicated that they will not release the information, that means they haven't closed the investigation. And then once independent investigators have the file and go through it and make an independent determination, there are other steps that can be taken, either elevating it to a higher law enforcement source, namely the FBI, or some cases, the family could file a request for a magistrate court judge to hear the evidence through a warrant application hearing and potentially open a criminal investigation, or they could take it to the district attorney of that circuit and turn over the investigation. So what people need to understand is law enforcement ultimately does not make the call of whether or not a case will be prosecuted. The district attorney of the circuit does. And so that's why we're asking for them to turn it over so we can do our own thorough investigation and then proceed in one of those fashions.
When was the last time the family met with the GBI? Did they give any indication that they would investigate?
I think this is another question for the family.
So the answer to that, well, he asked just now, tell me your name?
Matt Johnson with Channel 2.
Matt Johnson with Channel 2 just asked, when was the last time the family met with the GBI or GBI met with the family? His wife, my sister-in-law, did speak with them this week. She has asked for the records. She asked for everything that the attorneys told her that we needed. And they said to her, well, the case is not yet closed. So we can't give you anything until then. All of everything, all their belongings that they, have come time and time again to the house to take to explore and to investigate, they still have everything. They have not given back the phones. They haven't given back the computers. They haven't given back the gaming system. Nothing.
My other question would be, too, we hear about Ahmaud Arbery, and we remember him not only because he's local, but the heinous crime, the hate crime that was brought against him. Why are we connecting his case of 2020 to this of the Lewis twins in 2025?
Because if you recall the Ahmaud Arbery case, it was ruled that there was no criminality by at least 2 district attorneys after the police department turned it over. So it's very similar. They gave a similar story that he was burglarizing a house and necessitated the response by the 3 armed vigilantes. And so as somebody who worked on that particular case, the same thing that I'm hearing right now gives me pause. And that's why we need an independent investigation. If the case is not in fact closed, then the GBI's next question should be, have you turned it over to the district attorney of that circuit? And then the family needs to meet with the district attorney of that circuit. And so we're going to put the same amount of resources behind this case that we did that case. And we hope that it does not take 90 some odd days and the release of a tape to show what actually happened. So why I made the connection is because many times in Georgia, the initial story does not hold up to scrutiny of independent eyes and independent investigators looking at it and turning over every stone.
To call a spade, you're basically saying you're comparing it to the Ahmaud Arbery because you're saying this looks like a cover-up, kind of like that was?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And the reason I'm saying that is because too many of the facts that we already know don't seem to point to this was a suicide. Now, we could be wrong, and that's why it's incumbent upon them to turn over the evidence so that we can look at the evidence with an independent eye and then have a conversation with the district attorney about what the district attorney sees. And then if it turns out that there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But given the history of this state, both distant and recent, it's very difficult to believe just on face value what the GBI is saying.
So are you saying that the GBI has evidence of a murder that they're choosing not to further investigate? Or are you saying they have investigation?
What I'm saying is, if the GBI has closed this case, release it so other investigators can determine what actually happened. I'm not casting aspersions on the GBI yet, but if it turns out they're not being transparent, then we're going to have a bigger problem.
Let me add something to answer that question. So, have you guys heard that they left their subdivision at 10:17 p.m.? Did you guys know that? By the show of hands, did anyone know that? Okay, so the reason why you did not know that is because the GBI, and I found this out soon after the Towns County Sheriff accompanied the GBI to the house to let the family know what they found, what they discovered. That Tyrese's sons were murdered. So all they had to do was just ask, because at the entrance and exit of the subdivision, there are cameras. There's a flock system. There's a flock system all throughout Gwinnett County.
Throughout most of Georgia.
Exactly, throughout most of Georgia. And I asked, I contacted the home association, and I asked them for the videos, and gave them the tag number, and asked them also for to see what time they came in and left that day. And I was granted it within a matter of less than 24 hours. I was granted that information. And I asked them, I said, hey, did the GBI come here and ask you for this? They said no. They said we've actually been waiting on them to ask. We've been waiting on someone to ask. So you didn't hear anything about a time of when they were last on camera at the Shell gas station until last month. Last month, when towards the middle of last month, just before they said we ruled that this is a double suicide. They did this to themselves. Not happening.
Is there any video from the Shell station? Because people on they heard about robberies and things like that. Is there no video in what happened in that?
Yes, so there is video, and they did see the video. Their bonus mom did identify which was which for the GBI after being shown the video. But they didn't share anything. They were doing what two teenage boys would do at a gas station: buy snacks, put a little bit of gas, because like I just told you guys, Naazir needed to get to the airport in the morning for a standby flight because he missed a confirmed flight. He already spent his money on a flight to go to Boston. So he wasn't trying to miss, just lose his ticket. He wanted to get to his girlfriend.
So I think when we get into the weeds of everything, we start realizing that there's not enough that's known. And so to make sure that every stone has been turned over, they need to turn over the evidence. And then we'll be able to answer all of these questions that I'm sure the public has. And we have to remember, law enforcement works for the public. And the public have questions that need to be answered. And that's why we're standing by this family, to get those questions answered. And if the questions are answered in a dissatisfactory fashion, then we will escalate.
Hi, family. Kat Harvard with podcast Conversation with Sharon and Kat. My heart goes out to you.
Thank you, Kat.
And I just want you to just please share with everyone the love that these young men had, because their transition, you're reiterating, they had a life to live. We need to drive that point home. They had a life to live, a future they're looking out to. Can you please speak to them?
Absolutely.
My sons, they enjoyed several things. Excuse me. They
Okay. Let me tell you this. They were lifesavers. Literally lifesavers. Okay? They were lifeguards. They have been lifeguards at a moment in their lives where they were saving people. That you're not going to hear anywhere, right? They saved lives. They knew CPR. They had to go through so many different trainings in order to get certified as lifeguards. So Naazir, tell you about Naazir. My daughter was telling me, asking me questions because Naazir wanted to start a whole fashion line. So she was, she came to her father who has experience with that to ask, hey, Naazir wants to, he just called me. We've been talking about, this clothing line that he wants to start. What does he need to do, and so forth. Qaadir was actually just, he was considering going over to KSU after his graduation from aviation school. They worked. They loved to play basketball. They should, I had to foul them, but not call it a foul when I played with them. Dad right here will brag on how he taught them how to play and shoot the J's that they were so proud of being able to make. They love Family Guy. I don't know. Family Guy, yeah. Family Guy, and there's another one. There's another. What is that? What is that?
Don't say South Park.
Yes, thank you. South Park. I could not. Yes, and I will always hear, and I'm like, but they wouldn't watch it on the TV. They would watch it on their phones. I thought that was so strange, and so I was like, why don't you just watch your TV? Well, I don't understand why they don't. But they went to anime. Another thing I don't understand, they actually had play swords because they wanted to, play out scenes and be their own characters. And their aunt Tony, Tyrese's sister right here, would watch what is that? Harry Potter and play the video games, and they would make you design the characters or something, because so their cousins and their younger brothers each had a whole character based off of Harry Potter. Like I didn't understand. They asked me something about a dorm. I don't listen. That's thank you for that, Kat. Yeah, memories, right? Memories. Wow, Kat, that was a good question. Would you want to say anything else? Or? Tyrese said that I talk too much. That I said everything that was in his mind. We have that celebrity thing going on. Are there any more questions?
I did have Asia conversation. And I had a question, y'all talking about fundraising, and I know the other side of the family have the GoFundMe. Do y'all have a separate one, or are y'all combined?
That's a great question to ask. Everyone here has helped to promote that GoFundMe with the hopes that it would go to the investigation and the family. As you can see, he's needing extra care right now. They had siblings. Their bonus mom lost her job. She was one of those that was laid off just before this happened. So I want to first, and I think I speak for us all in saying thank you all for donating and trusting us enough to donate to that GoFundMe that we helped to make go viral. Because it wasn't moving. The needle wasn't moving before we put our minds together. And thank you to the public. Thank you all for donating. And as they also have shared. When I say they, everyone that's behind us and with us have shared the video of Tyrese saying thank you to everyone for helping to bury his sons, because he wasn't in a position to make that happen himself. But it did not go to the custodial family. Nothing did, including I guess the repass and all that stuff, but that's a conversation for another time. But thank you for asking that question. But we do have a new GoFundMe. Well, not new. It just hasn't been promoted because the focus has been on getting him well. But I guess we will.
Yeah. So basically, we are in. Shifting gears to do the investigation. More information will be released about the need to fundraise or anything like that. We're focused on getting transparent answers of what happened to the twins.
And also to answer the other gentleman's question, I don't see that he's here. Look like he stepped to the side when he was questioning, why are we maybe questioning law enforcement? I mean, again, the founding of the NAACP, for those who don't know, the National Advancement for Colored People. Our founding was done upon lynchings of black men, young black men, veterans, older black men, black women. So Ida B. Wells started that work in Mississippi, my home state. So to ask us, why would we be questioning law enforcement investigation, I would ask anybody to study the history of this country. This country, we was human trafficked. Our ancestors were human trafficked to this country. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you in English. So, with that being said, you know, we want a thorough investigation. We want the evidence released. We're tired of GBI playing games. If you say the investigation is over, please turn all the evidence, everything you have, over to the families so that we can have an independent investigation done and review the facts. Because since we've been here in the United States as a people, we know not to necessarily trust things on face value when it comes to law enforcement and the investigation of deaths around Black people. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Faith Torrini. I'm from CNN. Could you break down some of the evidence that you received from the UCI? Very alluding to the documentation, because I can't tell whether they told you, have they shown you the picture that you talked about, or you just don't know?
No, so remember, GBI has given nothing. So we haven't seen any pictures. I'm sure, you know, the parents wouldn't ask for pictures. But there's been not too much information. So anything and everything that you guys know, that's the only thing that we knew from them. The things that I've, you know, that I've also shared with you today is things from, you know, extra things that I was doing on my own to investigate. But great question. Let's ask the GBI for that information.
And so normally in cases like this, when they close the case, especially a case of public note, they have a press conference where they release all the information. So if they don't want to release it to the family, they can release it to the public in general to lay out from the point the boys left home to the point they ended up on the mountain and how it happened. They can have a press conference and lay it all out if it's truly a closed investigation. From what I'm hearing, it's not a closed investigation because they haven't turned it over to the family. They haven't turned it over to the family's counsel. They haven't turned it over to the media. They haven't turned it over to anybody. And so what's happening right now is they're trying to do a two-step using the open records law. They need to make a formal declaration that the case is closed and turn the information over.
I think we have room for how many more questions?
Everyone.
One or two questions left?
Can you share with the public what they can do? Yes.
Yeah. So at this point, we are calling on the public to, one, get in touch with the GBI and demand the release of the information. I'm sure we will put up a change.org petition where people can sign the petition demanding the release of all the information. Two, we're asking the public to get in touch with the governor and ask the governor to demand an independent investigation into this case. He's done it before. He did it in the Ahmaud Arbery case. He can do it in this case. This is a case of public note similar to that one, where we have an undetermined death of an African-American, two African-American individuals. And so as President Paul just so eloquently put out, the whole purpose of the NAACP is to investigate lynchings. And this smells like a lynching. And so we are calling on the governor to dispel that odor by having an independent investigation. And three, and most important, the citizens of the state of Georgia and all over the world can hold this family up in their prayers, continue to share the story on social media and big media, because without that type of push, cases like this disappear. And so those are the three things the public can do.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for reporting. Thank you guys for your questions. Help us get answers.
Thank you.
Very good.
You remain right here.